here.
We're here. We never left.
Live.
Yeah, we're back like we never left, as always.
It's like dropping the needle.
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
In the groove.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm Rich.
And I'm Tim, Unleashed, and we are two middle-aged men talking shit. Come get some, bitches.
Oh, yeah. Here we are. Yeah. Give me that crowd.
Man, listen, one more time, because you know what? We got a special guest in the house, brother.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm going to let you introduce one of his names, all right? So this man goes by like 3 different names, but we all know him as
G.
All right. Then he's also known as G the Promoter.
Right.
Then if you want to go into his government, it's Gregory. We can't tell you the rest. Gotcha. So listen, we just gonna stick with G the Promoter, and G the Promoter is here in the building. We call this the bag room. Come on, brother, jump in,
man. Well, thank you, man. You forgot one though.
Whoa, which one did I put? DJ G.
Hey, that's where it started.
DJ G is where it started. How could I forget that, man? What kind of interviewers are we? So speaking of that, G, while we in there, what started your love for black culture?
I moved to low-income housing.
That'll get you in love with something, right?
My dad died. I was like the white kid that moved. I was the white kid that moved into the black neighborhood, basically. It wasn't, I mean, it was a mixed neighborhood, but it was low-income project. You know,
Right.
It wasn't projects, it was low-income row housing.
Yeah.
But it was in Princeton. So it wasn't like...
Clay Street.
Huh?
Shout out Clay Street, John Street.
Yeah, but where I lived was Princeton Community Village. It was like...
She was lower than that?
It was out, like they had it up on a hill miles away from downtown Princeton.
Right, gotcha.
And you know, going to high school there, people were like, "Oh, you can't go to his house." But when I first moved there, it was like a couple weeks of having to fight a lot, just to, you know, and then cats, you know, became cool, or some of us didn't become cool, and so, you know, most of my friends were black.
Yeah.
So I got introduced to music that I had never heard before. So like soul music, and you know, we would go in and check it out, my friends' parents' records and everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
You know, and then
big vinyl man too. Rich is a big vinyl man too.
Yeah. So then, you know, then when hip hop, Grandmaster Flash, like heard that, I'm like, yo.
That was it. You lost your mind. Huh?
Oh yeah. But you know, I mean, it was a different world back then, because I mean, when I went to high school, most of my friends were black.
Right.
Listen to hip hop, listen to soul music. I listened to everything though, but you know, white girls would be like, "Ew, you listen to rap."
Little do they know.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember Princeton High. The cats had cardboard out, breakdancing in the lobby thing, and like I started DJing a little bit. So,
that's what's up.
You know, it just kind of, you know, that was my introduction to music I had never heard before.
That's what's up. And listen, man, hip hop culture has touched everybody. You know, when it first started, they said it wouldn't last. I don't know what they meant by that. I don't know if they thought we were just going to leave and listen to country music. But once hip hop started, man, you know, I got my first taste of it. Bro, I was hooked. Rich, what about you, brother? I know you had some of your favorite hip hop groups back in the day, although you was a rocker.
I was a rocker, but yeah, I mean, same thing. Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC.
Yeah.
Oh God, the list goes on.
There you go. Yeah, he plays guitar too, so you know, you ever need some licks, he's your man.
So this'll bounce forward to like '95.
Okay.
We did I don't want to go out of the timeline. How are we going?
This is our podcast. We do what the fuck we want.
'95. I was working at Razor Sharp. We were doing Ghostface album and everything. The Iron Man album, his first solo project, and we did a few dates of Lollapalooza. And everything, and Metallica. We did forget Randall's Island in New York. I think it was Randall's Island. Yeah. Lollapalooza, WuTang, Metallica. Our tour bus was parked right next to Metallica. When I was before, you know, I got into hip hop, I listened to Metallica. I was racing BMX with the headphones on, like a sports Walkman. racing with it.
Hey.
So WuTang was performing. Metallica's bus was right next to us. I'm wearing like black, gray, and white, the urban camo boot, like cargo pants, the boonie hat, a Wu-Tang shirt, and boots and everything. And I went up to those guys because they were parked right next to us. I was like, yo, I'm a huge fan. And they're like, but you work with Wu-Tang. You're like, rap. I'm like, I grew up listening to a lot of music. And like, you guys, like, I raced BMX, listen, and they were pretty cool about it. It was just cool to be, you know, meet somebody outside of the hip hop world.
Sure.
Hell yeah,
like, absolutely. Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I was like, I'll never meet these guys, you know, but it's like, you know, but they were cool about it.
Right, exactly. But man, you know, you gotta expect that because music can cross color lines. You know what I mean? There's a lot of black brothers that listen to rock, wouldn't admit it. I raised my hand, brother. I listen to everything only because my brothers listen to everything. So, and plus I had white friends. So, you know, you're over at their house, you're hanging out, you know, they're playing their music. I'm like, oh, this shit is hot. To me, there's only two types of music. There's good and then there's bad music. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's it. So that's how I look at it.
Well, I watched, there's, oh man, I can't even think of it right now.
we got all the time in the world.
But I mean, you know, if you look at it, like when hip hop started and everything, and when I was coming up in this, the world has changed because of music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like color, race, everything. You know, you've seen music bring people together even before. Oh, you're guilty, huh?
Yeah, that's my phone. It's my show. I can have my phone on.
Oh. But you know, if you look at when soul music came out in the '60s, I watched a couple. You know, I watch all different stuff, but Otis Redding.
Mm-hmm.
There's a documentary of him that they did about it, and it was crazy because do you realize that the reason they had a lot of the old soul records that had a girl on the cover was they didn't want people to know they were black artists.
Of course.
So, and it was like watching that documentary, seeing how they were treated when they went to England. They were treated as people.
Kings and queens came through the front door.
Yeah, and they could eat at diners and restaurants and everything there. Whereas when they came back to America, they weren't with segregation and everything.
Even the Rat Pack, you know, Sammy Davis Jr., not to cut you off, Sammy Davis Jr. had to deal with that. So
yeah.
We get it.
So, I mean, you know, if you look at how much music has changed everything, it brought a lot of people together. You still got them, you know, those people out there. Well, I mean, you know, but it's, you know, you got races of every color, you know, right. So it's like, but to me, seeing how much, you know, being in high school and girls be like, ew, you listen to rap, and now like girls are like, you know, you go, so, you know, it's changed a lot.
The same girls are twerking right now.
Yeah, right.
To their favorite rap song.
They probably twerking with their walkers.
Yeah, right. That's crazy, man. So your experience with Princeton, what was it like there? I mean, was it 50-50 then? I mean, as far as black kids, because I know there wasn't many.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I mean, you had that little area downtown, like that was like the hood, you know, but it wasn't really hood. It was Princeton. But, you know, there was stuff. I was kind of just a weird outcast because, I mean, I was the BMX kid, and BMX was big in the 80s, except in Princeton.
Yes.
You know, so it was like, I was, you know, riding my bike all the time. I raced all the time. I won, like, state championships. I won a lot of races. But, like, nobody in Princeton, they were looking like the jocks and everything. I went out for track.
Right.
And I could run. Like, I was, you know, I was skinny then, big legs. Like, I had to wear jeans that were a couple sizes too big just because, like, my thighs and everything from riding. So, it was, I was just kind of in a weird zone. I was like this BMX dude, but also down with the brothers.
Right. Okay. Yo, and ain't nothing wrong with that because, you know, we accept diversity, don't we, brother?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, so, and I mean, I was from the poor side. So it was like, you know, you had the snobby, preppy kids. I mean, Princeton, it's like preppy. So it was just kind of, you know, I was just kind of zigzagging through some middle grounds or something.
Yo, and that's okay, brother. That's okay. That's how things gotta be sometimes.
And, you know, it was funny because later in life, John Popper, Blues Travelers. I went to school with John.
Right.
We were in a class, it was kind of like the Breakfast Club class.
Like, yo, I'm picturing this in my mind, so.
So John was this big fat white dude that played harmonica and people would pick on him, the jocks. So, not even doing all the Princeton thing, but I stayed back. I went to another school for a year for people that got in trouble and everything. I did really well there. Princeton, I just never fit in. I came back. This cat, who was like one of the school bullies, started a fight with me in the kitchen. I kind of in the lunchroom. I went in, like he like elbowed me in the head. Like he was like, "That's my seat." I'm like, "Whatever, leave me alone." My boy was like, "Leave him alone."
Yeah.
Dude elbowed me in the head with his tray. I got up and it was on. All I remember to this day was I had him slammed on the table, and some girl was like holding her milk with her eyes like it was like,
"Don't spill my milk."
Horror movie. No, she was like terrified, frozen.
Right.
And then, you know, so it was like, you know, cats would mess with John. And, you know, you know, so I remember them, Blues Travelers, going to school with those guys and everything. And I ran into John years later when I was doing the WuTang thing. I was on I think I was going to Vermont or Connecticut.
After it blowing up.
Yeah, on Amtrak, and I walked by, I'm like, John. He's like, yo. He's like, oh my God, And we started talking, and it was just like, dude, I know it's got to be crazy for you, because like in school, you were an outcast too.
Right.
People make fun of you. Now they're buying your records and deriding you and whatnot.
Right.
And over the years, I had that. Like I was DJing in Stroudsburg, East Stroudsburg University, at some party, and some girl came up. She's like, "Oh my God, we went to school together." I'm like, it's like you never even said hi to me in school.
Yeah.
It's like, but now you want to like, no. I'm like, it's all good. So
D-ride for real.
Yeah.
But she might have wanted to really D-ride.
Yeah.
Should have found out.
I don't know. I just, it was like one of those things when you see how people were before, how they really are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, funny story is I still have never gotten invited to Princeton High School reunions.
Really?
I'm on a blacklist. I've heard from somebody like,
yo, he's really on the blacklist.
The
too.
really blacklist. Yeah, so.
He on the extra blacklist.
But it's like some people, they never grow up. They still in that little clique thing, and even as grown adults, it's like, really? Like,
But that's how some people live, man.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this interview now, man, just to tell people, because a lot of people don't know your involvement in the culture. People always ask, how'd you get there? So
Right.
You just obviously told us.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So John Popper's out there blowed up, Outkast. Look at you. You were monumental in breaking some really strong hip-hop acts. So obviously the first one we're going to talk about is who else? WuTang. Well, no. We're going to go back. I want you to tell me about Prince Rakeem coming to WPRB. Now, if you don't know who Prince Rakeem is, I'm going to let you explain it.
That is RZA, the Abbott, Bobby Digital.
You're right, keep going. He's like 12 other names.
Yeah, it's like so yeah, I was doing PRB and talking to my boy Albie from Tommy Boy Records, and this was Rakeem came out when Naughty by Nature came out, before they blew up. So I'm talking to Tommy Boy. They sent me records all the time. Single was "Ooh I Love Me Rakeem."
Ooh,
I was like,
Rakeem.
okay. They were like, hey, we need you to play this. I flipped it over and I'm like, yo,
B-side
Deadly Venoms and Sexcapades. I made a radio edit of Sexcapades because I forget. I think
So what'd you do? Just give me the button?
No, what I did was actually back then you had the tapes,
Yes,
the reel-to-reels, and I spliced and flipped a couple words. We did that with a lot of records that because we had to couldn't play the curses. So I was rocking Deadly Venoms and Sexcapades.
Right.
And so Albie was like, hey, we want to bring Naughty by Nature before anybody really knew who Naughty was.
Before OPP, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, bring them down. And we were backstage in the studio in between, and Rakeem and I was like, no, why do you got this single out, like this other stuff? In Deadly Venoms, we started talking about Kung Fu movies and Shaw Brothers, and we just hit it off from there, because he was looking at me like, hey, I'm like, yeah, I know about this, because I used to go, being in Jersey, I'd go to New York or go to Philly, go to hip-hop shows, go to the theater, the matinees, where they play like 5 Shaw Brother movies in New York or Philly, because they didn't have it in Jersey, so it was like, go to New York and everything. So we started talking about that stuff, and it was like we just hit it off from there. And I was like, the interview, there's an episode on air on rawdealradio.com.
Yeah.
You
I
can
see
listen.
that. We're definitely gonna try and throw that into the video as well on the edits.
Yeah, so that was the whole first time I met RZA, and I was just like, look, man, like anytime you want to come down, you're welcome. And it just kind of went from there. He kept in touch. Actually, a couple 2 to 3 weeks after the show, he called the station, and he was like, "Yo, this is Prince Rakeem. I want to thank you for having me down." I'm like, "Look, anytime you want to come down, then boom." So he came down a few other times. Wrote Ghost with him, his brother Divine, ODB, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
That's my brother. So it is really weird with the whole Wu-Tang story with me, because in the beginning, if you ever see any of the old photos of me, I'm wearing Devils jerseys, and you know me, so.
Yeah, I was hoping you was going to bring that up, so I didn't have to. So speak on that while you're talking about it.
So I was a white dude rolling with Wu-Tang when they were still on stage rapping about white people or devils.
Right, which at that time in the language was called a Yaku. A Yaku was a devil in the 5% nation.
Yeah, exactly. So me being me, and you know how I am. And if you listen to any episodes of the show, you know how I am. I rock the Devils jersey and hat most of the time. I was like, okay, well, but they knew who I, they got to know who I was over time. But in the beginning, everybody was like, I'm not gonna remember. They mentioned the names of the members, but the other cats from Wu were like, "That's RZA's boy."
Yeah.
Wait, that's RZA. And then me and Dirty became real tight. And Dirty was like serious 5%er.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knew the knowledge. Right. So it was like, I kind of learned about it, right, and I respected it, but I didn't try to act like I was part of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Good.
It's always like, this is who I am. Either you accept me for who I am and see who I am, right, and over time, like everybody, my relationships with everybody within will change.
They seen your work. They understood what you was doing for them. There was some black people that didn't do what you did for WuTang.
Yeah. So I mean,
at that time.
Yeah. So it was all love, and it was like, so it went from being, oh, that's RZA's boy, but even at the time, RZA was kind of like the nerd of Wu. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was.
But
we clowned that song for the longest. Me, Tony J, Law. We were sitting in the studio one time at PRB, and we were like, "Oh, we love you, my kid!" Like just dancing around, like, "Yeah, man," because the song was real. It was catchy, but it was oaky, and we knew that they were harder than that.
Yeah, but I mean,
at that time we was in the hip hop.
Yeah, and like we said, I mean, look at everybody was doing it. Kwame, they had Jizza Come Do Me Baby, and Jizza was like serious 5%er at the time. You know what I mean? But that was what the record labels were pushing. You had to have that pop crossover, commercial single. And I mean, if you ever go back and listen to the episode when RZA was on there when I interviewed him,
I listened to it the other day.
I was like, I asked him, I was like, oh, what's up with your album? He didn't really want to speak on it because
because he knew he was going to flip the script.
Yeah. So, I mean, he did the smart thing. He flipped the script. He got out there with that single, made the connections he did, and made me, everybody else he met. And then from there, built the Wu-Tang Dynasty. So, I mean, without We Love You, Rakim, you know what I mean? Where it may not have been.
Right. So at what point did he change his name officially? When Wu-Tang dropped?
Yeah, it was around the time, like, when the album dropped a little bit after.
Like
because
91, right?
Yeah, 92.
91, 92. Okay.
Because there's actually postcards that Loud put out that I have, that, like, the promo postcards. I kept a lot of that stuff, luckily. But it says Prince Rakim as RZA on it. Or even, or Prince Rakim.
Right.
So, yeah, he went from Rakim to the RZA.
Yeah, when I think Prince Rakim, I think McDowell's. Just comes to mind. I don't know why. They got the Whopper. They got the Big Mac. We got the what was it? The double whatever. Oh shit. So Rich, jump on in here. I know you got some questions for him, bro. Especially the Metallica days. You was a rockhead. When did you fuse your hip hop and rock knowledge?
Early 80s, 81, 82. So we kind of had the same path. And plus with the whole thing with BMX, I did BMX too. I used to race for Marty's.
Yeah, I know Marty's, yeah.
Yeah. So that's over there off of Route 1.
Yeah, the first time I ever rode BMX at a track was on Lawrenceville on Route 1.
That was behind Marty's.
That's where I raced.
Yeah, on that little track. It was closed by the time I started racing, but I rode from Princeton to there and rode the track.
Damn,
yeah.
That's a ride.
It wasn't that far.
Well, you took the back ways through the woods.
But yeah, you were a kid though. You ride all day.
This is true.
But it just goes to show you, like back in the day, like how things were so different. Like we had stuff like that. We were able to mix culture. We bought it all together. So yeah, it was definitely some good times for sure.
It was the best way to find out where all your friends were.
Yep.
All you had to do was look for the house with all the bikes out front.
Yeah.
Now they be all stolen and shit. Oh my God. So we're gonna keep it moving, brother. So I just want to jump into it real quick. So you did an intern at a label. Should we talk about the label?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of my first things when I was doing PRB, I interned at Rough House Records.
Okay.
And this was when Cypress Hill came out, Criss Cross, Tim Dog, and I'd already met Tim, had been a guest of the show.
Tim Dog.
Because we were actually the first PRB, the Raw Deal, we were the first station to play Cypress Hill on the East Coast. Play Pigs.
Mm-hmm. Now, real quick, I don't want to jump out of context. Raw Deal, please explain to people what Raw Deal is and how it started real quick, and then jump right back into your story.
All right, so on PRB, there was me and this guy Easy M. took over. There was a hip hop show that was already there with John Leland and Drew. I can't remember the name of it. I actually went there one day on my bike and they ended up saying, "Hey, you want to answer the phones?" So I started answering the phones, writing down the shout outs, and started doing the shout outs, became part of that show. They were graduating like just soon after. And Easy M had been doing the club show. So he and I talked and were like, yo, let's do this. And so we did Thursday nights, hip hop, and then after midnight it became, he would do the club stuff. So the first show was Club Crush.
Okay.
Tony D became part of that.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
So Tone came down a few times, then he became part of the show, and then it went from Club Crush to Raw Deal.
So y'all just basically took that shit over. Just say it, bro. Just say it. See how forceful hip hop can be, man? That's what I love about it. It comes on like real dainty, then it just kind of grabs you and says, all right, we're taking over.
Oh, yeah. So then Easy M broke out, and he kept doing the club show. I kind of took over running Raw Deal. I wasn't a student at Princeton. It was Princeton University, PRB.
So you did get back into Princeton, see how God works?
Yeah. I became host of it, and then they stuck me with this kid named Fresh J from Michigan for a couple months.
Yeah.
Who was like,
I remember Fresh J.
He was a nice guy, but he was like that white dude that was just whiter than white. He's like,
he was opaque.
Fresh J. And, I dealt with it for a little bit, and then he left, and I became the host of it, and brought in DJ Cam. Jay Ski, his first time on.
Shout out Jay Ski.
That's my man. Like
he's the first one to play our Storm Peace record, too.
Yeah, he Jay's first time on radio, DJing was on PRB and on Raw Deal and everything. So because I met Jay with Cam and Reg and Mark. I went down to Reggie Reg's house in Willingboro with Mark. Then I met Cam, Reg. I'd actually already met them. I knew Chief, and Jay was there. It was like skinny little white dude.
He's like another white dude.
No, but Jay was like 12 years old at the time or something, and Jay was killing it. Like, yo. I was like, look, anytime you want to come to the show, you're down. So, we gave him some guest spots, and I got so much love for that brother because he still to this day just never forgets and always, appreciates that.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it's good to see like how people, whatever we did, that like I know in this world that I left a better place. You know what I mean? At some point, like I helped people. I did stuff that, to me that mattered. Because it's like all the money, the bling, that ain't nothing. It's like at the end of the day, like I did, some of the stuff. If you want to go into that later, the BMX stuff, whatever. I try to give back. Because I've been blessed with a lot of things. I'm not rich or anything, but I've gotten opportunities that people have only dreamed about. And I mean, part of that, even the PRB thing, the confidence I gained from BMX.
Yeah.
If I hadn't started racing BMX, I was a quiet kid. My dad had died. Like, I was quiet, shy. I still am. You know me in ways. I'm laid back. Like
he's shy until you get into what he want to talk about.
Yeah. But until I get to know people a lot of times. So, it was like that confidence I gained in BMX changed my life because cats that I was around, some went the other way in life. You know what I mean? And some went the other way in death. And it was like me not drinking, not doing drugs, staying away from all that stuff. That always
bugged me out, bro, because we be bombing out, getting drunk as hell at PRB. G be straight as a narrow and is like a razor. He was like razor straight.
If you think PRB was bad, you should have seen on Wu tours.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine.
In the beginning, we had the MPVs. Like, we got pulled over a few times. I'm driving. I'm like, officer, I'm good. They're up. But, it's like, I'll hopscotch the wine, whatever you want, the jumping jacks, whatever. Like,
and just for those that don't know, the MPVs were the multi-purpose vehicles by Mazda.
Yeah, little minivans.
Yeah, they were minivans, and usually they were used for crimes, but WuTang used them as their first tour vehicles.
Yeah, they had two of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was, it was just a lot of opportunities and things that, just went from, if you look at your life, like little things that you do take you a direction that sometimes you never know you're going to go. And if you look back at those little things that caused you to be able to do and go those places.
Right.
And to me, it's like, I do a lot of BMX charity events, help raise money for the tracks and stuff. And to me, it's important because it's like, if I can help some other kid change his life,
damn right.
then you know what I mean. I leave the world a better place.
I like that. Yeah, for sure.
You know, so that's why, you know, I'm not rich, nothing, but it's like to give back, and that changed my life. That gave me confidence to let me do the other stuff. I mean, when I went into the street team stuff, I was the white dude in the hood, like in Philly, in Camden, and everywhere. And I mean, I was the biggest promoter when I left PRB.
Yeah.
You know, I was already doing stuff with WuTang. That got me on to other labels. Like RZA told Steve Rifkin to like, yo, hire G.
Yeah.
And Rifkin was one of the first people to put me on for street team stuff. Then I did for Tommy Boy, and I did for Electra. I mean, I did all the early Wu projects.
Right.
And I mean, I Def Jam. I was the biggest hip hop promoter in Philly.
Yeah. Now, how was Steve back then, man? 'Cause we met Steve a few times in different occasions in our life. How was Steve back then?
I mean,
They
Steve,
said he was a wild man.
Steve was kind of wild, but I was like, I didn't really deal with Steve as much directly because he was the president of the label. I was dealing more with, you know, whoever was running the street teams. But it was always love when I saw him and everything. You know, and I thank him because it was like him listening to RZA allowed me to do, you know, get put on. And because, I mean, the thing was there was street teams, you know, street marketing promotions. We're out posting up stickers everywhere. You know, if we go into the whole other thing, I was always riding my bikes everywhere. And I would go to like where other cats were driving around, you couldn't park. I'd ride up the Ben Franklin Bridge and I had stickers and posters. When you came off either side of the Ben Franklin Bridge,
You're walking.
Yeah.
You seen him.
I was riding and people would drive by. And like, that's what got me put on to all the other labels was like, they'd come to town with the artists and be like, hey, we're seeing this other label stuff everywhere. Like, who is this cat?
Right.
And that got me put on. Like, I
There you
was
go.
just out doing stuff. So,
You went outside the comfort zone.
yeah. You know, but I was like down South Street when Wu-Tang first came out. I was handing out tapes and stickers and stuff. People are like, what is this? I'm like, it's hip hop. They're like, is this Chinese? I'm like,
Can't be.
take it, listen.
Yeah.
You know.
Find out for yourself. It's in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after RZA Press, Protect Your Neck, I was going to Armand's, Funkomar, everywhere. I had the receipt book we had to do consignment. The first copies of Protect Your Neck I dropped in record stores were all consignment.
Yeah.
But then like a week later or 2 weeks later, they were like, oh, I need 2 boxes of that, and you know.
Yeah.
But we were selling it out of the trunk.
Damn. And that's how you gotta do it sometimes. And that's where, you know, to bring up the Hulu thing, the dude was giving him shit. He was like, yo, man, get your shit on the radio. And then, you know, soon after that, I mean, obviously this is Hulu. You walk up. Can you talk about that scene real quick from Hulu?
So that scene, like a lot
I mean,
of,
we know it's TV, it's a little fabricated.
yeah. Well, it's a lot of fabrication. What's funny is that everybody, that whole episode 7 of season 2 is all about them getting on the radio.
Right.
And there was a lot of cool stuff that happened. I'm kind of jealous of the Stretch and Bobbito scene because The Killer is one of my favorite movies, and they kind of, you know, and RZA and I had talked about The Killer was one of the first movies we talked about together. So I was like, oh man, they got the cool scene. But, you know, so the whole episode is about them trying to get on the radio. But people don't realize in the thing, like at this convention, I walk in the episode, I walk up to RZA and it's like, yo, I met you on my show. You know, give me the record, I'll play it. And the rest of the whole episode is about them trying to get on, but it was like, I was already like, yo, I'll play it. So
And you was playing that shit.
yeah, so in reality what happened was RZA and I stayed in touch. He came down the show a few times, you know, they came back and forth, came with Dirty, came with Ghost. I took him to Club Mahorns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention the DJ from Power 99,
We won't. He won't get no shine on my show.
but no, it's not who you think. I'll tell you later.
It's one of the 3, and there's 2 that I don't like.
It was
and one of them's gone, and the other one's still there.
So anyway, they were at Mahorns, and then Power 99 was hosting it, and I had RZA there with me. And I'm like, yo, man, this is my man Prince Rakeem from Tommy Boy. And he was like, psh, whatever. Blew RZA off. So I was kind of bummed because RZA and I talked about, like, you know, he told me about the Hulu thing. We were talking about doing an episode of when he came to the show. And he asked me, did I have the recordings when he came back down with Dirty in them? I don't have, hopefully somebody out there, some people say that they have other episodes of the show taped on cassette.
Yeah.
of like either when Dirty and Ghost came back down, or even the very first time we played Protect Your Neck on the radio. With
Which
RZA.
I think we were there because that's what we're like. This is what we're talking about. Because that's what all the time we spent clowning Prince Rakeem. I Love You. That was the record that should have been playing.
Yeah. So RZA and I went out to the car that he came down in because I had that Supra at the time, so he couldn't really sit in it. But he played me a cassette tape, and it was the WuTang demo. It wasn't even Protect Your Neck yet, and I was like, yo. Like, these cats are going in, and the beats were grimy and dirty, so I was like, yo, I'm like, whatever I can do to help, I'm down. Like, I love this. Like, this is going to blow up. Little did I know it was going to blow up across the world and change everything, but I just knew that, like, yo, this is different. So, I don't want to interrupt your questions.
No, bro, we rocking, man. Listen, this is your show, bro. We sitting back, we listening. Right now, man, if the people aren't learning anything from what you're saying, they are not listening or watching. So I'm gonna shut up and listen.
So, you know, RZA and I stayed in touch. And when he recorded, after they recorded Protect Your Neck, RZA came back down the show and we played it on the test press. And like he had played it for me on phone before that. I was like, yo.
This shit made me want to break something.
I was like, yo. Like, really? Like, shh. So, you know, we played it first on PRB. And unfortunately in the Mikes and Men documentary. You know, shout out to Stretch and Bobbito. They were the first to play them. They were the first in New York to play them. They were also, them playing it is what Steve Rifkin heard it on their show and signed Wu-Tang. PRB, we were the first to play Protect Your Neck by far. Next up was my man in Texas that RZA was cool with. Then I think it was like Ohio or like Norfolk or somewhere, and then
Gavin needed 2 DJs to report it.
Yeah, so long story short, I was starting to try to put it on the playlist, and they were like, "Look, you can't put it on the." Gavin was the music industry publications. There were 2 big ones with college radio, Gavin and CMJ, which was College Music Journal. So I actually every week I'd call them up. I'd send us our playlist, whatever we were playing, the top hits. Yeah, exactly. And they put out like weekly publications of this record's hot, this record's breaking. So I actually contacted them, and I was listed. And hopefully one day somebody will pull up that episode of that issue of Gavin. I was listed as a contact to get Protect Your Neck.
Oh, there you go.
At
Nice.
PRB at the time, and then Mike McDonald came on board with Wu-Tang Records, and Mike had a lot of connections and got them out there, you know, even further. But I was the first, like, real person helping them get it out there. And so, you know, RZA was, if you see the Breakfast Club interview from like 2017, RZA broke down the real history on the Breakfast Club in 2017.
He did. And Angela Yee told some stories too about you.
Yeah.
That were all true.
So, you know, so when we were playing it, and we were just rocking it, had it on our playlist, I was contacting other stations. I gave it to Rand, gave it to Cosmic Kev, all the other DJs I know. So we just did it ourselves, you know, and the record blew up, and it just kept blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, and then Steve signed them, and then, you know, it went from there. But in the beginning, it was like, yeah, but PRB in Jersey, the white dudes.
the outcast found it with the diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like, when the first time I heard it, I was like,
It's
yo.
a different energy, bro. So I remember when they first played Protect Your Neck, as soon as you hear, I'm like this, when you hear a song, you know it's hot, you want to hear it again, immediately.
But if you
So that's when you know it's hot.
But if you go back to Deadly Venoms, it's that same kind of the B side of Ooh You Love Me Rakim is that flavor, that Tommy Boy, So, you know, it was just, you know, and then going, you know, so I was interning at Rough House around the time. I tried to shop. I went with RZA, even in New York, I went to some labels like when he was trying to shop it.
Right.
And I tried to get Joe and them to sign.
That's Joe Nicola, otherwise known as Joe the Butcher.
Yes. And they just didn't really seem interested.
So do you think Joe regrets it now, 25 years later, after the anniversary of the record?
Who knows? All I just remember is Joe saying, "Oh, the production's horrible. It's too gritty. It's this and that." And I'm like,
Nothing like an Italian man telling us about hip hop.
but I mean, but if you listen to the Wu-Tang sound, it was a gritty,
It was always
grimy,
gritty.
crack and popple, you know, crack and pops and the samples and everything. But it was what, you know, it changed what was going on.
Truth.
You know,
Wow.
It was like, so, you know, So the Hulu episode, go back to that. It's kind of fictitious how it happened because RZA and I already had our relationship, our friendship, and everything, and we were in touch. He came down to the show, so when the record came out, we just dropped it and played it. The Hulu thing is kind of a mix of Impact Convention in Atlantic City. So shout out to Blue Raspberry, who super talented. Like she's a sister. Like we've been through ups and downs with our lives with working with Wu. Super talented artist. Like if you listen to any of the Rainy Days, like
singing.
Yeah, Blue killed it on all the early Wu albums. Impact Convention, which that episode of Hulu is kind of based on, is it's kind of the Impact Convention, but that's where we met Blue Raspberry, and Ray and Ghost took her up to meet RZA, and then she got down as part of the family and everything. So, so that whole episode in the Hulu thing is, it's fictitious, but the fact of me being like, yo, I'll play it, that was true in that way. Yeah. And also, like, when I go on to give RZA some advice, I'm like, oh, go check out. I learned stuff I learned at Rough House. It's like, yo, let's go do this. Like, let's try to, because in the beginning, we did it all ourselves. Right. And I was in Jersey, Philly, Jersey. So I wasn't there with them all the time, but it was like, where they were doing that, I was doing the stuff in Philly, going to Delaware, going to DC and everything.
Well, at least they found a cute dude to play you. They find no like ugly ass bum dude.
back when I was slim.
Yeah, right. Shout out to CJ Force. If we could ever find him to plug him, try to find him on Instagram, but his page was kind of dead.
Yeah. So go back to the thing I was pissed, honestly, when the Mics and Men came out. They used some photos I got cropped out of. Stretch and Bobbito on it. And Stretch and Bobbito really thought they were the first to play it, which I understand, but RZA's gone on record on that, the Breakfast Club 2007. He broke down pretty much the history of how it is. So the funny thing, I'm gonna just put him on blast.
Go ahead, bro.
When he's like, I'll never forget this dude, Greg, yeah. White boy Greg from Philly.
Like you couldn't remember your name and shit.
Then Math was like, G. He's like, oh yeah, G. So the funny story is, if you look at the credits of 36 Chambers, there's DJ G in the credits. The shout out on the album when RZA's like Roz and Marilyn, Will Strickland, Jason State, and Kelly Wu with Gavin, a lot of those people got the record through me or found out about the record from me. He forgot to shout me out. Damn. And he didn't realize till 2011 we were having a conversation down in like Virginia on the tour bus. He's like, yeah, I shouted you on the album. I'm like, no, you didn't. You forgot me. He's like, no, I did. I was like, no, you forgot me. He was like, you shouted Kelly, you shouted Jason State, Will, everybody. Forgot me. He goes, I gave you a job though. I was like, okay, you got that.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. You changed my life.
So covered his ass that way, right?
Yeah.
No, but it's all love. So, but it was just funny because it was like, I'll never forget this dude. like,
I'm watching the episode and it took Angela Yee to say, yeah, G, he rode the bike, he was always sweaty and stuff. So I'm cracking up because the college that they went to was Angela Yee's college.
Yeah.
So when they were trying to break in the back door, that's what they're talking about. Yo, Shorty gave his clearance and that. So I found that funny.
So the Hulu episode, the flash forward with the Stretch of Bobbito scene, I mean, that was, big fictitious thing. But I remember them telling me, like, Mook and them, Mook was their manager, was their cousin. I remember when they put Mook on. Like, RZA was like, yo, we're going to put our cousin on as a manager. I met Mook and everybody. And I remember them telling me about they kind of bum rushed the show to get the record put on with Stretch and Bobbito. So, it's part of the history thing that, it just kind of hurt because, to me, it's not just about the first to play Wu-Tang. It was the fact of all the blood, sweat, and tears, and literally blood at times, that I put into helping get that record out there.
That's what's up.
So
listen, if nobody ever said they appreciate it, Rich and Tim, we appreciate it, bro. So
yes, absolutely.
I mean, it was
you are in our eyes a legend, so that's why you're here.
Well, thank you.
Nah, bro. I want to give people their props in 2022, the year of the double deuce, while they're still alive. I don't want to come stand over you and say, oh, gee, I should have did it. Nah, I'm doing it now.
Well, I mean, I still look at it. They are the stars. Like, without that music, I just helped with what I could. You know what I mean? Like, I played the background, and that's part of the whole issue of what happened with everything of other people. And there's other cats that are like, oh, I was the first to play Wu-Tang. Like, okay, well, you weren't the first to play it on the radio.
Right.
But the problem is, you know me, I always played the background for so long. Like, you know, I laid low. Like, they're the stars. I played the background. People are like, wait, are you security? Are you the lawyer, or what are you? Like, you know, I was the white dude in the background. I'm still waiting for. I used to carry a katana on stage.
Oh shit.
Because I got sucker punched a lot of times. Like when the beginning with WuTang, like I remember, I don't know if they'd like me to tell the story.
No, tell the story, bro. It's my podcast.
This
Our
is
podcast.
No,
tell
I'm saying
people the story.
So this is how real it was in the beginning. One of the very first shows we did with WuTang was Syracuse University.
Damn.
Wow.
We had 2 rooms for like 12 people.
Ew.
We were taking the mattresses off the box spring and laying like 2, 3 side by side, like cots in the room and everything. Because they didn't really get paid much to do the show in 2 rooms, and it was like, yeah. So it was like, it was real. Like in the beginning, like it wasn't lavish. It was like living off like ramen noodles and yeah. So I mean, you know, but it was just that, you know, seeing now where everybody's gone, like Meth. I love Meth so much, man. That's my brother. Like, no matter how big he's gotten, he always shows love to me and everybody who was there in the beginning. Like, never forgets.
People at the beginning.
One time we done New York, we were going on to an elevator. Meth was on there. They had the Def Jam people around him. Dude tried to put his hand out on my chest to stop me from getting on the elevator. Meth smacked that dude's arm down. He's like, don't ever disrespect this dude. He was with us when we had nothing.
Damn.
Wow.
And, you know, and it was like, but that's that love. And to this day, Meth, so much love, man. It's like, no matter how big he's gotten, in his heart, all of us that were there, his childhood friends, like, it's still Meth at the time. You know?
Man, money changes people real fast. We learned that just recently.
Oh, yeah.
Money can change people real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a Trenton moment.
Well, I mean, so speaking of a Trenton moment,
Here we go.
Speak on it, G. Speak on it, G.
everybody from Trenton in hip hop or whatever, y'all need to just stop, chill, and work together.
Say that part
There you
again,
go.
bro. Because I've been saying this for about 25, 35, 45 years.
Stop, chill, work together. Because if you all work together, you could do something.
Mhm.
Everybody's always going at each other, and like somebody gets it out there a little bit, and everybody else is hating on them.
Yeah,
and,
fracture.
and it's like, you guys have gotten nowhere.
Yeah.
And there's so much talent in Trenton.
Boy, look, that's a whole nother episode. And there's, when I mean talent, from rappers, directors, singers, songwriters, everything you could think about is here in Trenton, but you don't hear about it.
Well, so shout out to Leon Rainbow.
Oh yeah, shout out to my man. He's coming on the show too. We got him booked real soon.
Yep.
He's coming out.
Shout out to Leon, because Leon puts on, and his people put on one of my favorite events of the year, Jersey Fresh.
Damn right.
Yep.
Shout out to Jersey Fresh Jam.
Trenton, hip hop, graffiti, it's a lifestyle. It's just everybody, different colors, creeds, races, whatever, religions.
Skateboarders, BMXers,
Yeah,
everything.
You know, and it's just a chill time. And it's just everybody coming together. And it's like, you know, all the stuff with Trenton, it's like, just, man, you guys just need to stop sometime and just put aside all that little stuff. Because it's like, you getting worried that somebody started doing this. And it's like, instead of building on that and all working together. I mean, the Seven Immortals project.
And listen, we ain't getting no younger, so we need to start working together before it's too late.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I kind of stepped out of Trenton. You know, I was never really Trenton anyway. I mean,
Right.
I had a lot of love for everybody from there and stuff, but it was just like, at times it's like, look, man, if you guys just put aside stuff and build on each other, you know what I mean? Build a foundation. Everybody, as soon as somebody starts building a little couple blocks up, somebody's trying to take out the one from underneath it.
Sure. Yeah.
And, you know, and it's like,
It's truth. It's facts.
yeah, and it's the one sad thing about Trenton. It's just like, you guys just come together. And I mean, but Philly's a whole nother thing too.
Yeah, but
It's
at least they'll come together and support each other. Even if they'll have beef sometimes, depending on what it is, they'll put it aside for business purposes. There's one thing, they're on the side of money. Trenton, we never been on the side of money. We'd rather crash you and burn you so you don't get there.
yeah.
So
I mean, and that's just the one sad thing to see, and that's why like I always love coming back to the Jersey Fresh thing with Leon, and I mean it's like because I see these cats that I haven't seen in years, and it's like
definitely Master Ace. I seen the picture of you, Master Ace.
Yeah, so that's another cat that I tried to Ace. I met him when he came to my show. We stayed in touch, tried to get him signed to Rough House, and they turned him down too.
Damn, they was really making some real bad decisions over there. Was it Chris Schwartz or was it their lawyer?
I don't know. I mean, Ace wasn't a huge name. Ace was more underground. But I mean, you gotta look at the time. They had Crisscross, and so it was huge hit in Cyprus that blew up from there. But it's just one of those things that it's like seeing cats that I haven't seen in years and go from there.
That's what's up. Jersey Fresh Jam.
Yeah.
And and that's just one of the sad things to see is like. I'm not going to name a name again, but I was on a conference at Jack the Rapper. I think it was Jack the Rapper.
That was going to be one of my next questions, but go ahead.
So I'm on a panel with an unnamed, I'm not going to name, DJ from Power 99, MC, well, host, whatever. And they're talking about breaking records.
Sounds like some of the DJs I know around here.
And they were like, well, it was talking about how you could get on the radio. And I just had to call your man out, and I'm like, whatever groups in Red Trenton did you play? Because there was so much talent in Trenton.
Crickets.
Yeah. I mean, AOK Productions, Boulevard Mossy, Too Cool Posse. Like, I mean, not even going to YZ, Poor Righteous Teachers, because they got played.
Don't forget Strong Peeps.
Strong Peeps. I mean, there was so much.
Jay Skeep did play our record during one of the 390 Shortest Man Love on that record.
Look at Suicide Posse. Remember they rocked the park.
Yeah, Nation of Riot.
Yeah, Nation of Riot.
It was. And I think one of the Wu members was there for that show.
So, I mean, it was so much talent, but the thing is, outside of our show on PRB, a lot of that, they didn't get a lot of love elsewhere.
Nah.
And so
what can we do to change that, Jay? Now, at our age, what can we do, or what can we tell the youth that are watching or listening right now, or even the old heads that are watching and listening right now? What can we do to change that?
Well, I mean, it's a different world. Like I'm a dinosaur in this world of promotions now. Like I'm used to being in the streets, posting stuff up, handing stuff out. That was the old thing. So yeah, now I mean, there's such an avenue that it's good and it's bad because there's horrible music that gets promoted, and there's great music that gets buried. And the thing is, you can reach. So, RZA and I got into it a little bit. Remember when MySpace was huge?
MySpace. You still got your page too, don't you, Jake?
It's probably still there. I mean,
still active. Floating out there too. Yeah.
You're still active too, Rich?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had almost 60,000 followers at one point or whatever. So, what happened was, MySpace was out there. It was like that first big thing before Facebook even blew up. Like Facebook wasn't even bought yet, or maybe it was, but it was MySpace was the thing. I had somebody contact me on my page about like, is this Raekwon's page? It was a girl, and she was like, I was like, I don't know, I don't think so. She's like, well, I was trying to get my 16-year-old sister to send pictures, naked pictures and stuff. I'm like, let me ask Ray, like. So I was Ray, I'm like, yo, like I was working out of 36 Chambers. I was going to be back and forth between Philly and New York. I'm like, Ray, you got a MySpace page? He's like, what? I'm like, MySpace, it's this internet. He's like, I don't, like, so I told the girl, like, look, that's not Ray. And I started looking more into it. I'm like, there's all these fake WuTang pages of all the artists and everything.
Wow.
So I contacted MySpace I was working at 36 Chambers.
So you call that dude in the room, what's his name? The guy in the room that was looking back in the picture?
No, that was, but I forget.
MySpace.
Yeah, I forget what his name was too. But yeah, it was like the profile picture thing.
Tom.
Yeah, no,
Tom something. Yeah.
Tom, yeah.
So I was like, look, I work with WuTang Clan, and blah blah blah. There's these fake pages, and they were like, well, we need to know it's you. Actually, I have a photo of RZA and Raekwon holding up GZA, because actually, this is how I got into it. GZA actually asked me to run his MySpace for him, help him run it. So I started doing his page, and that's when that whole thing with Ray went down. And so I contacted MySpace. I'm like, look, this is a fake page, and they're asking underage girls to send naked pictures. And the guy's like, well, how do we know you're who you are? So I had to get Ray and GZA to hold up a sign with their email address and everything, saying like, you
Right.
know, to verify that who they were and that I had access to it.
Right.
So they were cool. They actually we were trying to get, you know, just somebody had Jizza's / you know, MySpace / Jizza. Somebody had it. I was trying to get it, and they were like, no, you know, whatever. They wanted to charge us. So MySpace actually went in, took all the top fake accounts, turned them over to me, and gave us like MySpace / RZA / Jizza. Everybody,
Right.
you got already had his. He was set. So I mean, you know, that was huge at the time. Certain cats that were in Wu that kind of hated on me about the street team stuff because you know some of them worked under me or whatever. They go back to RZA and be like, I was doing this when State of Grace came out. Raekwon's State of Grace. It was originally supposed to be on Wu Music Group. So I was spending a lot of time online with the MySpace thing, promoting, you know, everything.
Sure.
I turned over all the pages to each artist and everything. I still did stuff with Jizza and everything. And, you know, cats were going back to RZA, like, oh, well, he's on there talking to bitches all day. And I'm like RZA, like, you don't understand. RZA got burned on music, on the internet, on some financial stuff in the beginning with the internet thing. So he was kind of jaded on the whole internet thing. So it was like, you're about to be digital, but
You ain't too good with the internet.
yeah. So it actually came an issue where it was like, you know, cats were hating on me about being, you know, they hated the fact that I was supposed to be running the street team anyway. But it became an issue like, well, you're on the web doing all this stuff. And I'm like, this is the future. Like everything that we knew is changing and going away. And this is going to be the new thing. Little did I know how big it was going to be, but
Well, I mean, come
Right.
on, bro. It's like the 8-track and the cassette. I mean,
Yeah.
who didn't see it coming?
yeah.
You know?
So it was like, you know, seeing the world now that you can get millions of hits like that, you know, and that was, and in all honesty, like Rocky Bells a few years later, RZA was like, yo, you were right about, you know, it was all love, you know, but it was just the fact that like today, there's so many avenues to get out there. And the thing is, if you work together and build, like everybody in Trenton, help build each other.
Message.
You know, it's like if you create everybody supporting each other, and you share your share your hits with them, and you know, share everybody's posts. Like you could build your own community and get the word out there.
Even comments, bro, because it keeps your algorithm flowing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, people don't realize that you go in and just make comments. It's that simple.
Yeah,
Just go in and make a comment.
and it's like this. Look at it. Look at somebody, a single person in a canoe, versus somebody on one of those rowing teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Look how much faster and further they go working together as a team versus trying to go by yourself.
Damn,
Yeah,
good
man.
analogy.
Yeah. Amen to that.
So,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, like I said, I was never from Trenton. I spent a lot of time down there and everything with everybody. But, you know, it's just sad to see it. It's like there's so much talent here. There's always been. But it's just never, I mean, you know, and shout out to, oh man, I'm going break that here.
Nah, that's all good, man.
Soulbuck.
Okay,
And,
so still doing his thing.
Yeah, Soulbuck and what's his name? They're still doing PRB.
Yes.
You know, and they've kept that going. You know, and that's nice to know that there's still that. You know, there's still an outlet for everybody around here.
Right.
It's just that it's like you start to work together, you could do so much more than you're doing.
And that's what we've been trying to do, man. Networking, connecting with people, you know, cameramen, creatives, just people in general that want to work with us, man. We're down to do whatever.
Yeah.
So we're trying to reach out to people.
That's what we do.
And if they don't reach back, we just keep it moving.
That's it.
But I mean, that's why, you know, you and me knowing each other, that's why, like, you know, I've got a couple other things I'm going to do soon, but I wanted to do this first.
So I appreciate that, man.
Thank you,
and shout
yeah.
out to, what's his name? Joel, am I saying it right? Joel Allah.
Yeah.
He's doing a documentary on the Trenton hip hop scene. Yo, I'm trying to help him with that as well behind the scenes. There's some stuff I want to help him with, distribution, finding different avenues, because that's something that's never been done before. Is that something that really needs to be done for Trenton?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, it was a powerhouse. There was so much underground, and I mean, not only just Trenton, but like, look at Courageous Chief. He's still got like an underground huge hit that, you know, it just never got out there.
Yeah, God bless his dad. He passed too, right?
Sorry.
Crazy Chief?
No, Chief is still good. It was Be Struck.
Apache. Oh, Be Struck and Apache passed.
Yeah, Apache passed years ago. That was my man. Like he come to the show. We actually hung out together a few times, and then you know, Apache, it was a shame.
And shout out, we just recently lost DJ Blends and DJ Ox.
Yeah.
Trenton. Ox was
I didn't even know about
Masterminds.
Ox.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So shout out, man. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my man B Struck was from the Hillbillies.
Yeah, I remember the Hillbillies, man.
Yeah,
The straw hats and the jean suits.
Yeah, and unfortunately he got COVID. He was recovering and passed. So it was like, that was always like much love to him. He was like a real dude.
That's what's up.
So that's the thing. Is like there was so much talent that like, if they only got played in New York or got played more in Philly or elsewhere out there.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was just that whole internal little drama beat thing.
It always has been. And being from Philly, being in between Philly and New York, Jersey, we were always like the alleyway. So we always got overlooked. People were coming through or going through to New York or going back and forth, but never had a reason to stop here. And when they did stop here, the venues wouldn't be so inviting. So a lot of that we did to our own selves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But G, what's up? What's next for you, brother?
This Raw Deal Tease thing, I'm just slowly.
This one's so going, it's cracking, but I'm still rocking it, boy.
I wanted to do that with get my T-shirts out there, and I've just been doing a lot of these BMX events. I actually started doing stuff with called Panthers, like Crown Victorias, Grand Marquis, Town Cars, like doing meets with that just for fun and get people together.
That's cool.
Just little side things to keep yourself entertained and do different things, and hopefully maybe end up back out on the road with Jizz. I went to Europe with Jizz as his road manager over there, and that was like seeing Europe, man. It makes you realize like how lucky and spoiled we are in this country.
Yeah.
And it's like, have you guys either?
I've never been to Europe. He's been
I've been to
plenty
England
of
and
times.
France.
He's got peeps over there.
Yeah. So I mean,
So at least we got a place to stay when we go.
Oh yeah.
So I was over there, I got to see like Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, like Italy, France, all over. So kind of opened my eyes to like us in this country, because it was like, you go over there and the hotels, they'll have like, you got the red lights here, you got like one or two in the hallway. When the elevator opens, then the lights will come on with the motion. And it's like same thing with the room key card. You have to put it in the socket inside to turn the lights on or keep the power on in the room.
Yep.
So it's like how much energy they conserve over there.
Yeah, we burn up shit like it's nothing.
Yeah. So
Like we got a whole ton of it.
yeah. So hopefully I get back out on the road. Just I've talked a little bit here and there about me doing merchandise with him. I still do stuff behind the scenes, like I've always done stuff behind the scenes with Wu and other cats, and I just kind of keep low key about that. And it's like, people see me. Most people don't even know who I am. I'm cool with that. I'm not the star. Like, I'm the supporting cast.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that, because behind everybody there's somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's just kind of where people have talked to me about trying to bring Raw Deal back. In some ways I'm interested in doing it, but if I do it, I want like Jay involved and Cam and everybody.
Yeah, you got to.
So it's just me kind of having to learn this new world with the internet and the, all
Come
the
on, bro.
podcast
You had to be paying a little bit of attention. Come on, man.
No,
if an old head like me, because we're same age damn near, if I can do it, he can do it, and the old guy behind the camera over there can do it, you can do it.
So, but yeah, I mean, just kind of open to wherever the wind takes me at this time.
There you go. I like that.
There you go. Rich, hit him with something, brother.
Yeah.
You got some questions, something you want to ask?
I'm actually straight. I'm good, brother. Yeah, you covered the whole gamut pretty well. Like I said, it was good to talk about the whole thing with BMX and everything like that. I got to ask though, what'd you ride? What'd you have?
I was a tour kid, actually. So one of my first BMX bikes was a Murray. It was like an XR20. It was like chrome and gold.
Chrome and gold. Yeah.
I broke the first one I got within like 2 weeks. Snapped it in half. They took it back. They gave me another one. I beat the hell out of that. Broke that in half like 2 months later.
Damn.
I was actually dragging the pieces of the bike home in two halves at a cop stop in Princeton, and he gave me a ride. He's like, "What happened?" I was like, "My bike broke." He's like, "Where do you live?" I'm like, Princeton Community Village. She's like, you're walking all the way?
He dropped you off at the corner.
No, he took me home. And a couple weeks later, they came back and they gave me a Mongoose BMX frame and fork. I guess that somebody, was recovered somewhere and nobody ever claimed it. So I built that up, and that was the first bike I went to Howell, New Jersey. There's Central Jersey BMX. Went there and raced. My very first race, I got second place. I passed the kid for second. I was in third. Passed the kid for second in my first moto, first time I raced. Passed the guy right before the finish line. Pedaled past him. He crashed me on purpose ran into me after the finish line. The mouth guard, it was like a open face helmet with a mouth guard.
Yeah.
When I went down the mouth guard, I still have a scar under my nose here where it took a chunk out, and I was bleeding everywhere. I was like, I still want to race. And at that time, they'd still have the paramedics at the track. They were like, no, you have to go to the hospital and get stitches.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to race. And they were like, no. So, first bike I ever raced was a Mongoose that was like just pieced together.
Nice.
And I got to shout out my man, Dwayne Taylor.
Okay.
When I was 95, when I was working on the Ghostface album, I was always riding bikes. Like if you saw the RZA did the two different breakfast clubs, and Angie's like, yeah, riding the bike.
He's always sweaty. Yeah. Yes, he was.
So like even when I worked at Razor Sharp, I moved to Staten Island. I'd ride my bike from Staten Island, take the ferry over, and ride the thing. People are like, why don't you just take the train? I'm like, all right, I'll ride my bike. And I got Fox gloves and everything. And Meth would be like, yo, G, let me hold them gloves for the show. Never get them back.
Yeah.
Never get them back.
So he still got gloves of yours.
So I said, no, he gave them away or whatever.
So out to the crowd.
Yeah. I was like, Meth, those are my gloves I was going to ride with. So I asked RZA, I'm like, yo, I'm going to hit this company Fox and see if they'll send us gloves and everything. So there was actually in '95, if you Source magazine, RZA's in there wearing a green Fox jersey with 36 on it, his name. Fox actually hooked up and made a bunch of jerseys for us, sent us boxes of stuff.
Damn, it's a dope sponsor.
They were good back then like that. They were,
So it was just kind of a cross thing. It was the kind of thing like when I talked to them, they
No, that's not the flash. It's not like a comedian show where the light flashes and you're done.
You're
Keep
done.
talking.
So they
Camera's out. It's done.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. We still got the podcast rolling, so we're gonna keep it moving. The lights blinking was saying that the camera's done, but the podcast is still on. So I got one more question. Rich, you got anything else?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Out of all the artists that you met, who is the most memorable?
ODB.
Okay, and why?
That brother had so much love in him, and I mean, it still like hurts me to this day that he's gone. It was never an act. It was him, man. He was out of control at times, but he had so much love in his heart that it was like, it was real. Like I was working for Elektra at the time promoting his record, and he'd always be like, gee, you good? Hand me money. Like, I'm like, yo, the label's paying me. No, I got you. And it was just the amount of love, like, that was there. And it was like, he was real. Like, there was no, like, sometimes it was like, yo, Dirty, just chill. He took a Roots album release party in New York. Dirt just got out of jail. And this was, I met Wendy Goldstein from Geffen. I like actually, when Jezza's Liquid Swords came out, well, even before Liquid Swords, first single was Labels. I went to the Geffen office and I was helping package up the white labels of Jizza's labels. I actually have the rubber stamp that we were using, the Jizza logo, to stamp the envelopes. So I knew Wendy from there. I'm at that Roots album release party. They were signed to Geffen. I'm up on the balcony and Wendy's like right over by there. They brought Dirty on stage because he just got out of jail. First thing Dirty says is like, I know, I just got out of prison. I know all y'all bitches want to have my babies. Wendy was looked at me and she's like, gee, please go get your boy.
Nope, I can't. It's over Dirty.
No, well, they wouldn't let me backstage. I didn't have the right pass.
Right.
Dirty took over the Roots album release party days. They started playing Shimmy Shimmy and Brooklyn Zoo and everything. Dirty was fucked up. He didn't want to give the mic back.
Damn.
And basically kind of bogarted their show.
Damn. Well, the good thing Black Thought was a good dude back then.
Yeah.
He could have got stopped out.
Yeah, no,
Philly
no.
rolls deep.
You know, it was all love. I mean, Dirt felt bad the next day when I told him, like, yo, those are my people. Like, shout out to Black Thought, Amir, everybody, Questlove. Because when I was doing the Woo Street scene stuff, in the radio show, see them cats on South Street before they blew up. Yeah.
And it's funny because Philly wouldn't even play their music. They had to go across seas to blow out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sad. Yeah. So, so it was a lot of love to them. But yeah, he just took over there. And I told him the next day, he didn't really remember. And he was like, yo, tell him I'm sorry. But
tell him I'm sorry.
So,
I'm sorry. That's it.
Yeah, it was just dirty. You never knew what to expect. He was like, everybody says keeping it real. That's the man that invented that, really. Damn. Like, there was no, you never knew what to expect with him. Depended if he was high, drunk, whatever, but it was always love and, like, super talented and just never knew what was going to happen next.
And you can kind of tell that from his music, man.
Yeah.
Because, his music was different.
Yeah, and, some people think, it was an act or this. No, that was dirty, man. It was like, so... I'll tell you this story, his favorite story. After Dirty had been shot, he came to Philly. We were doing a show for Bobby Dams in Delaware. It wasn't even in Wilmington. It was like in the port of Wilmington at a VFW.
Wow.
Like in the middle of nowhere, in the port area. So we pick up Dirty, and I won't even get, it's a long story about what happened, but I ended up driving Bobby's vehicle because Dirty didn't want anybody in the vehicle he didn't know because he's like, yo, gee, I've been shot. When Dirty came through, because this is when you used to be able to pull up right by the baggage area when everybody came out. So it was Dirty and Buddha Monk, shout out to my man Buddha Monk. I could tell Dirty's dragging a suitcase behind him on the side almost, not even on the wheels. And he got like 4 little liquor bottles this is when they still had the little liquor bottles on airplanes and stuff. Like 4 of them in one hand, 2 in the other hand, carrying, pulling this suitcase. I'm like, oh boy, he's fucked up already. So, a little bit more to that, but he didn't want somebody else in the vehicle he didn't know.
Right.
So I ended up driving the vehicle. So it's me driving, Dirty in the passenger seat, Buddha in the back seat. Dirty's like, gee, pull my shit. You know what I want to listen to? I was like, turn on, no. He wanted to listen to DAS, all the soul music.
Right.
So we're driving down 95, soul music play and everything.
So when you rich.
Me and Mrs. Jones comes on.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Dirty looks at me, he's like, gee, you ain't singing. I was like, I can't sing. He's like, I can't sing either, motherfucker, but sing along. If we had dash cams of that, like right now, me, Buddha, and Dirty singing Me and Mrs. Jones at the top of our lungs driving down 95. It would have millions of views. It was surreal, but it was just how it was. It was just, you never knew what to expect. And so, I met a lot of talented people, and, I'm blessed that I've been able to do the things and see the things that I have. I have a lot of respect from people. I mean, I'm at Kane, I'm at KRS-One, I just rolled around, through the radio show and and so it's like a respect thing, because at the end of the day, I always do what I knew was right. I never cheated anybody. I could have got rich, you know what I mean? But I was always trying to fair to people and who I was. There's other cats that we know that try to be, I'm this and that, and it's like, look, I'm the white dude, and it's like, I know I'm white. I'm not that white, but it's it's like either you respect me for who I am or you don't. It don't matter, because at the end of the day, I always knew I did the right thing. So, it's one of those things that I've met so many talented people. I mean, RZA, look at, how much he's done and blown up. And, it's still love. I don't talk to him as much as I did. Everybody from Wu, they've got so much going on.
Of course.
But, it's to this day, I think that a lot of the little things that happened within Wu wouldn't have happened if Dirty hadn't passed.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's, having known him, it's just like the most memorable, so talented, like, just left field. You never knew. It was always, it was the ODB roller coaster.
Damn, that's what's up.
So out of people, and I started to shout out. I got to shout out my man.
Yeah, shout out everybody, brother.
my man Dwayne, who I started telling you about, he used to send out the stuff from Fox Racing. So Dwayne's been doing stuff on the West Coast. He used to be a BMX pro and everything. He's got La Revolution Cafe LRC. So they got picked up by Mongoose Bikes. So Dwayne has me as part of the team. So with the BMX stuff that I do, I'm more of an ambassador more than a racer anymore. I had some bad injuries, gained a lot of weight and everything. So I'm not racing like I did, but it's like an honor to be part of the whole LRC Mongoose team.
So you're still in promotions regardless.
Yeah.
Just on a different level.
Yeah, so, but it's kind of cool that, like, full circle. My start in BMX was on a Mongoose, and now I'm doing things with Team Mongoose, and, it's, getting bikes and them profile racing. There's a lot of companies that, the charity stuff that I've done, Philly Pump Track, shout out to them, like Ken and Heidi and everybody else that, came on board. They created an area, 52nd, it's basically 53rd and Parkside.
Mm-hmm.
Still the hood.
Mm-hmm.
They created the Philly Pump Track.
Parkside for 5 for 5 too.
Yep. Yeah.
I know. Had to throw that out.
But it's given a chance for kids that are underprivileged to go ride bikes and everything.
Okay.
So we do stuff with them and help raise money for them in tracks and everything. So it's kind of like, giving back and everything. But it's like, it's just crazy to look at. Life's a roller coaster. You never know where it's going to go. But it's kind of cool that I can look back as a kid. I would never thought, well, I'd have this sponsorship deal with Mongoose or Profile Racing or and I appreciate Planet BMX. They've done a lot. There's a lot of people that have supported the stuff that I've done and raised money. Like we did an event for Howell CJ, which was the first track I ever raced at. It was we did a show swap meet thing, but we raised like $700 for the track, which for them goes away. It's not a lot of money, but it goes a long way for them.
Yeah.
So, it's, at the end of the day, all the fame, all the other stuff doesn't really mean anything. It's like what you live and how you live and what you do in this world that, if you can leave this world and leave it with a positive impact, even though I'm small, that's what's important.
That's what's up. Well, we appreciate you being here. Also, I want to try and link you up with Trenton 365. They have a bike initiative. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Definitely, man. I want to team you guys up because you guys, it would really help the youth. So they're in East Trenton. They're building bikes for the youth. You know what I mean? Keep some of these kids off the street and give them something to do again.
Yeah, I'm down, whatever.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
So on that note, man, we're going to close this thing out. We done lost the camera, but we still got the audio.
That's it.
G, plug anything you want to plug, your social media, what you're doing now, any bike clubs, what you got coming up. Talk about it real quick.
All right, Instagram, it's G the Promoter. Facebook is G Pro, GEPRO. They made me change that because somebody was trying to say they were the other G for the Promoter. I'm like, come on, I'm the original dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Facebook made me change that. But mostly it's Instagram. I do G the Promoter. I got Mid-Atlantic BMX is the BMX events. I do Raw Deal Tees, Facebook, Instagram, and I do these Philly Panther meets. It's Crown Vics and everything, and town cars and stuff, and do meets and just hang out and just chill.
That's nice. I like that. Yeah, cool. All right, awesome.
Right, brother. Well, Rich, on that note, man, listen, this has been a long, good episode.
Yes, it is, man.
I hope everybody takes in some good information from what this man was talking. We can go on for days because there's more. We didn't even touch on the Naughty by Nature and them stealing Tony D's track, but this show was about G.
That's right.
We'll catch that maybe on the flip side.
And I do got to shout you out because WTF is definitely the food spot.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Listen, man, I'm just a guy trying to make it, man. I'm trying to leave the world a better place myself.
That's
and who would ever thought that I started eating food and I'm still eating food and it's making me money now.
Look at that.
I'm just still upset it's not a catered thing.
Yeah.
Like, come on, where's the plate at?
Is normally catered by WTF when it's open.
Like,
That's it.
Like, I thought I was coming to the hood thing. I was ready to go home with a plate.
No wings, no plates, no nothing. You're going to leave sweaty and a lot of good information left behind. And on that note, we want to shout out our camera company, Gatson Media, behind the camera. And,
Big J.
Thank you, sir.
Take us out of here, man.
Gatson Media.
Peace.